change anything up. I think with most of our games this year, we just kind of been thinking a lot uptight in the first half. In the second half, we just told ourselves to go play, not worry about the little things, but just go out and play. We know we prepared pretty well throughout the week, and we just have to trust in that. And that's usually what we do in the second half, and that's when we do better. Yeah, I think that's all just the mentality that we've been practicing and preaching all off season, all summer. We just pride ourselves on being the most physical line. That's what we try to be every game, and just having that mentality going to every game is big, especially for Coach Ricker, our position coach. I mean, they're a pretty big group in size, all talented, well coached. So we're gonna prepare ourselves like we do every week and have the same plan. Mhm. Yeah, I mean every team we face so far are pretty good D lines. They all had their like star players or solid fronts, so it's been pretty solid. We've all prepared for those equally. Treat them the same and just try to keep our scheme basically to us and not try and prepare for anybody specifically. I mean, they all play hard. They all pretty talented, long, big. So just preparing ourselves, but we know what to do. Is what we're gonna do this week. Find ourselves in our own stuff. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, every week we come in here and we just try to have that goal of being 1-0 that week. Doing good in the first practice, second practice, and kind of keeping our eyes on that next day and not in the future. So that's how we kind of keep ourselves locked in, is just having our eyes on the next day, the next game, and preparing ourselves for that opponent. Yeah, I mean, the longer it goes, you get these goals stacked up, but that's kind of where we emphasize just keeping our minds locked in on that next game, that next opponent, that next practice, to kind of stay locked in that week. Um, I mean, yeah, in my opinion, every almost every game is a rivalry. Tech, Baylor, Texas, we all kind of get very excited for each game. So I don't really see it as a big opponent. I see it as a next opponent, and we're gonna prepare the same like we do for each other week. It's gonna be a good environment. It's gonna be a big game for them. They're gonna be excited. The fans are gonna be loud, so gonna be prepared for that. Yeah, I mean, Max has made incredible decisions, incredible plays. He's kind of that leader, keeps us all together, keeps us cool when things kind of go high, go low. Kendra has made incredible runs that we can credit not only to us but to him. We squeezed through holes and made physical plays, and Quentin just making incredible catches. So I mean, they all had their parts in making this offense go. I mean, maybe, but for us, the focus is kind of we know what we are, we know what we're capable of, how good we are. So we try not to focus on that, just focus on ourselves and not let that influence us as much. Mhm. I think it was pretty quick. Right when he came down in the spring, we started to gel pretty quickly. He had a big impact. Learned a lot from him every day. Great coach and made us all better, not just like technique wise, skill wise, but also just mentality wise. So I think we're a very close group, and a lot of that success that we have as an O line is also credit to him and what he's taught us in this short amount of time. I know I don't really watch it. I don't know about my teammates. I haven't really been told about it now. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, we know that Baylor probably wants to do to us what we did to them last year. But like I said, we're just trying to kind of blend all that noise out, stay focused just on going 1-0 that week, preparing like we always do, and just winning that game. Thank you.
Feels great. I mean, I just gotta make sure I keep my body right. My coach is all about prehab, not rehab. So it's pretty. It's going. Is what I can say. Not at all, honestly. I didn't know that. I know how together the team was. Honestly, like I've heard things like saying the team wasn't as together as they are now, and knowing that we're together and we can really truly fight for each other out on the field every single time we step on the field together. That's something special. What click? Let's see. I mean, just being together is just something that clicks for us. Like seeing that isn't gonna be a tough game like every other game. But, I mean, he's gonna go hard every single play. Every practice, he's going hard. Every little thing, he's gonna make sure that we're right. He makes my life easier by if I'm wrong, he corrects me every single time. So I mean, it felt good. It felt really good. But as my coach says, just on to the next week. You can't just harp on it for too long. I mean, they're very strong. They're very physical. But like, it's on to the next week. We're just gonna focus on what we gotta focus on and make sure we do our jobs and our assignments. It's very good going against Kendra because he's gonna get us right. Like going against someone that's very good during practice and then going out on Saturday night or Saturday evening. There's a difference, but going against that better guy in practice is gonna make the game a little bit easier for us. No, not yet. Just make sure we do our assignments, our techniques.
Uh, I feel like my technique got a lot better than last year. Last year I was just kind of out there playing. Uh, just really just playing football now. I feel like I'm a solid linebacker and I'm a much better player now. Yeah, kind of like it was my first game playing. You know, I'm always ready for a challenge. So yeah, last year, yeah, I definitely remember that moment. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the same for me every time. It's always been next man up. I always stay ready. I don't have to get ready. So uh, when my number is called, whenever my number is going to be called, whenever whatever coach want me to do, I'm gonna do it. Well, we discussed this before I even came. It was my decision to go linebacker. I just felt like it would be easier for me. Like I'm more athletic than most linebackers. Uh, I know offense. I know the concepts of the offense, so I feel like it would be much easier, and I feel like I have a career at linebacker. Uh, yeah, I learned a lot more like defensively because I've been playing offense my whole life, offense mindset. So because let's be a good guy, good coach. He gonna always he not gonna just yell at you about something that you did wrong. He gonna talk to you and get you right about you know. I mean, it was kind of tough, but I just felt like I was ready for the challenge. So it and I was it really just wanted to play honestly. Like, like uh, Johnny he stay in the film room. He'll text us 12, 12 o'clock in the morning, 1 in the morning, telling us to watch this and watch that. Uh, you know, he's just a real good football player. Like he and D, my roommate in the hotel, kind of close like brothers. So D gonna always want me to have the best, and more the same. Yeah, when I first met D, it was just like I've been knowing him for a while. So it was just like it wasn't really much about football at first. It was just like kind of get to know each other, and now we just closer than ever. Blood can make us any closer. I mean, I always been kind of physical, so I was always bringing it to the defense anyway. Uh, so I had a lot of surgeries in high school. I kind of got bigger, so I just felt like the transition would be better for me. I mean, I was just some of my teammates just joking around with me, talking about Mr. Do It All, but I just do anything that the team need me to do, for us to win. He just said, don't get tired of doing stuff right. Uh, don't change up the routine. Like, don't think too big of it. Nobody believed in us before the season, so we wasn't paying attention to the noise. So let's keep keep the same mindset. I mean, yeah. Johnny had a good game. Yeah, I don't even know where to start with Johnny. Johnny, real cool guy, real funny. But he mean business when he on the field. So yeah, but amongst the linebackers, yeah, he always trying to get us right. He want everything to be perfect. Well, I can't speak for my teammates, but I know like I kind of been going through that like all through high school and everything. So I mean, it's kind of normal for me. I just don't pay attention to none of it. Uh, kind of like the same as last week. I mean, I think we finally put a full 4 quarters together, but it was still a lot of mistakes. So I just feel like communication, uh, emptying the tank, playing fast, getting to the ball, it would be all right. I mean, it was real good, man. Everybody was playing physical. Everybody was doing their job. Everybody running to the ball, and that was the result of it. Uh, I mean, I feel like they're a robbery for like the school and the students, but for us, like we just treat every game the same.
Okay, kind of start the same every week, which has been a good thing, I guess. Glad, happy the way guys played. Saturday was a big win for us. Big stage. Um, happy for our players. Like I said, I think that again, for whatever reason, um, seems like when you have an opportunity to play on, in a big stage like that, it seems like it gives you and your program a little bit of credibility. So happy for that. Happy for our players to get some credit that I really believe that they deserve. And it was an interesting ball game, and certainly probably not the way that I thought the game would play out. But it was good that we figured out how to win the game. I think that at the end of the day, that's what I really like about this team is we've done it a bunch of different ways, and I think that's if you're going to get on the kind of run that we're on, and you're going to play as many close games as we've played, then you're going to have to figure out different ways to win them. And so, again, thought we played fantastic defense. Was reading some stats today, um, looking at some stuff, and I think our improvement defensively is pretty remarkable. I think we've gone from 118 to 34 in one of the metrics that they measure defense, and again, it's S&P, which I don't even know what that means, but it's some way that they measured the metrics of defenses. So we've gotten much better. We've improved. I think we've improved um, substantially, really, the last 2 weeks. I thought we played a really good defensive ball game against Texas Tech, and certainly thought we played even better Saturday against Texas. So I think we're trending in the right direction defensively. It was a little bit of a struggle on offense. You got to give Texas some credit for that, and obviously we got to get better and improve, and we've got to do a better job of moving the ball and scoring points. Again, I thought our coaches really called a good game on both sides. The game changed a little bit. It's funny, we talked about this post game a little bit, but you have the analytics, and so the analytics tell you all these things, and you can pay attention to them. And sometimes it's good to pay attention to it, and other times you do exactly what we did. We just closed the book and never even had another conversation about the analytics, because the games were so different than the normal game of college football and the way it's played now. And so the analytics in a weird way meant absolutely nothing in that game because it was a different style of game. So thought we managed the game well. Thought we handled it well. Thought both of our coordinators called the game well, and most importantly, I thought our players played really hard and executed the game plan well. So good win. Looking forward to going to Waco. It'll be my first time in McLean Stadium. Haven't been in the building. Heard it's a great building. I'm sure it'll be a great crowd. I know there's a good rivalry between TCU and Baylor historically, and I know our players are excited to have a chance to go play again. And that's what I like about this bunch is they show up every week and they go back to work, and they got a good frame of mind about them, and they really do believe that the reason that we've played well is because we've prepared well, and so they continue to do that. And um, like I said, it's what makes this group so fun to coach. Is you certainly don't have to beg them to practice. You don't have to beg them to do the things that they're supposed to do off the field to allow them to play well, and they enjoy doing those things. And it's a mature team with great leadership, and again, real credit to the players. So looking forward to it. Yep. Yeah, sometimes this time of year, you know, and again, this isn't a knock on anybody or any team or whatever, but I mean, look, there's been times in my coaching career that I've stayed up all night Sunday night trying to think of ways to motivate the team. What I'm saying? What can we tell them this week that may or may not be true that's going to invoke and inspire the guys to practice hard and to prepare well and to give it their best effort. And we just haven't had to do that this year. And never had to do it during fall camp. Didn't have to do it during spring training. They just like to practice and they like to play. And so when you have guys that do that, it makes your job a lot easier. I mean, it means I can go to bed on Sunday night and wake up Monday morning and feel somewhat refreshed. And so I don't really think I think they view this game as a chance to go win a ball game. Um, and just like they viewed every one of them up to this point. And there is stuff out there. There's all that stuff at the end, but I do really believe that the guys have embraced that. Let's just worry about one practice at a time attitude, and we talk about it all the time. It served us well. Why would we change? Yeah, yeah, it was physical for sure. I mean, it's like we said over and over. I think this is what 9 consecutive weeks without an open date that we're coming on. Um, so I mean, all this stuff takes its toll. That's the thing that we've really talked about from the beginning is, when you look at a football season, it's cumulative. Everything is, and so that's why you got to be intentional about what you do during fall camp, and that's why you have to be intentional about what you do during practice, and that's why you have to be intentional and preventative, and you try to get ahead of things before they become things, and so all those things add up. But yeah, it was a physical game. I mean, it was two big physical teams. Texas is a their defensive front's big and physical, and our offensive line's big and physical, and their linebackers are physical, and our backs are physical, and so it was. I mean, it was a physical ball game on both sides of the ball, honestly. But our guys, you know, are accustomed to that. I mean, it's the Big 12. You play Oklahoma State, who I think is really physical, and that's been a big part of their success. And then you bring in Kansas State the next week, who, looking back, was probably as physical as anybody we played. And so then you go on the road to West Virginia, and so it just the gauntlet never stops. And then you play Baylor, who is built a lot like Kansas State and Oklahoma State in some ways, where they're line of scrimmage football teams, and that's what they want. Um, I mean, Jeff Grimes is their offensive coordinator. He's an offensive line coach by trade, and he's a really good one. And so, anytime you play somebody who has that way of thinking and that mentality, it's going to be a physical ball game. And again, we have to be up for the challenge. Yeah, broke his leg. Yeah, broke his leg. Yeah, it's a bummer. Hate it for Dom. He's meant a lot to our team. He's a guy that probably doesn't get mentioned as much as he should. Just a real leader. Certainly a leader on our special teams. He's kind of the guy on special teams, so it'll be a big loss for us. And just kind of a guy that everybody really rallies around and has a ton of respect for. So it was the last snap before we started to take a knee. He just got rolled up, and of course Dom was doing what he does. He was downfield blocking, probably doing more than he had to do on that particular play, and had the misfortune of getting rolled up and broke his leg. Very much, very much dangerous. I mean, they're a really good football team. I mean, they're very similar to us, I think, in a lot of ways, kind of in the way that they're built. Um, so very very dangerous. I mean, as I said earlier, really good on both fronts, big. Um, on both line of scrimmage, a lot of speed. Um, a lot of guys who can make plays. They've done a really nice job of playing complementary football. They want to run the ball. They want to not turn it over. They want to play good defense and be sound on special teams, which is a great formula to win football games. So I think we're very similar in our makeup. And um, yeah, but I mean, they're a very, very talented, good football team. One of the better teams we played this year. Sometimes games just go a little sideways. It's one of those deals. K State just kind of made a couple plays early. Quarterback came in and he was hot. I mean, they're Adrian Martinez got hurt, and the backup came in similar like he did against us, and really played well. And um, I thought Kansas State did a great job of being creative and getting Deuce Vaughn the ball, throwing it to him out of the backfield. I mean, did some really good stuff. That's which is probably hard to defend. And they just kind of got on a roll and that happens sometimes where it just gets away from you. You know, um, I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I don't know. I think what happens in these leagues is everybody starts beating everybody. And I think before it's all said and done, a lot of the teams that were ranked or whatever aren't ranked because again, if you play in a good league, it's going to be competitive and you're going to take some losses along the way. Um, I think the thing with us, it's like anything else. I mean, you just got to figure out how to win. If you can win, I truly believe the rest of the stuff takes care of itself. And then if you lose a game, then all of a sudden now there's all this conversation about all these different things, and you want to try to avoid that, if you can, because I wasn't around for it, but I think it was 2014. That deal didn't go particularly well for TCU. They were, I think, third and then won by 52 points and ended up sixth. So, you just got to do everything you can to make sure something like that doesn't happen to you again. And I think if you, win your games, then I think it puts you in a good spot. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's improving. I think that, you know, I think in a weird sort of way, recruiting is, you know, sometimes recruiting is a little bit like season ticket sales. You know what I mean? When you go and you do all these studies and you have success, they say it's 2 years after you have a great year that the season ticket sales are really improved. Now, I don't know. I didn't do the study, but that's what people that have done studies have told me. And I think it's a little bit that way in recruiting. I think that what you're trying to do is always establish credibility. And I think that we're still fighting for that. I mean, the teams that are at the top of the recruiting rankings normally are the teams that are the top of the college football rankings. And that's just kind of those two things kind of go hand in hand normally. And most of those teams have been there for a very long time, or they're very big brands. And so you've got to, you know, the goal is to become a big brand, which is nice, but more importantly, you want to become a good program and a consistent program. And there's a difference. And so, I think the thing that we believe about recruiting is getting the right people, and what does that mean? There's a long list of what that means. But, and then we believe that we can develop players. We think that our track record of player development through the years is as good as anybody's. And so, you know, we may not get the guys that are the highest rated players always, but the goal is to get the right players and then bring them in the program and develop them and then get a performance out of them like we've gotten out of some players this year, that are probably not that heavily recruited coming out of high school. And so that's always the goal. But, it's like anything else. As you recruit better players, you always got to be careful to recruit guys that are hungry and guys that love the game. And, and we say it over and over again about recruiting. It's like fishing. You got to be careful what kind of bait you use because that's the kind of fish you're going to catch. And so you've got to be, careful about what you're selling, because if you're selling flash and dash, then you're going to get somebody who's attracted to flash and dash. And that's not always the kid that develops into the best player. Yeah. Yeah. D, was really obviously played against D when we were at SMU and just kind of saw him is a guy that really just kind of understood the game. To me, he was one of those players that was always in the right place at the right time. Had a feel for playing linebacker, and again, that's a real skill playing that position. It's just it helps if you're a good athlete and you're big and all that, but there's just a nuance about playing linebacker that you either see things or you don't, and those guys have a way of seeing things before they happen. And the great ones are, you can talk to them. You say, "Well, how do you know it was this?" And you said, "Well, I don't know. I just did though. I just could see it." And so D's kind of one of those guys. I mean, he's obviously a great athlete. He can run. He's got good size. But I think for him, his instincts are probably what make him special. Just has an idea of where things are going to be, and so you know, it was fun to compete against him. I didn't, just because I was always had a real appreciation for him. Just thought he was a really good player, and I think as he gets more and more comfortable in this defense, he plays faster. He's somebody that you watch him play, and his speed stands out, and his ability to, like I said, diagnose and make plays kind of in the open field stands out. But um, and then you get around him a little bit, and just kind of see what kind of leader he is. I mean, he's just a really confident, calm guy that wants to be coached. Um, is always trying to find a way to get better. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's been so successful and had such a great year. you know, um, I hadn't had much time to reflect on that. I can't think of anything right now. He's just a joy to be around, though. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys that is really mature and emotionally stable. He just is the same guy every day. And I have a real appreciation for that, especially, for young kids and all the stuff that they go through. And, you know, I can remember when I was 22 years old, or 21 years old, it seemed like things that were pretty mundane were the end of the world. And, Dee's one of those kids that handles things really well and doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. Yeah, I think Shad's, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the thing that's, if you watch the second play of the game against the Texas game last year, they had the big tight end that came to block him, and Shad got after him pretty good physically, you know, um, hammered him pretty good, and what Shad is a big, strong guy that can really run, and what he has is all the physical traits of guys that are really good at that position, and kind of unique. He's 250, and I mean, he consistently runs over 20 miles an hour in practice. You know what I mean? And there's just not many guys that do that at his size. But he is starting to learn how to play the position, and you have to be incredibly disciplined to be a linebacker. And then, it's like the rule of 10,000, you almost get 10,000 reps. And then all of a sudden you go from being disciplined to somehow understanding, what's coming before it's coming, and I don't know that he's there yet, but he has started to develop that discipline to play in that position where his eyes are in the right place. He's doing the right things. He's leveraging the ball correctly. He's, doing all the little things that are really important because what linebackers have to do in our defense, you have 3D linemen and they're supposed to eat up the blocks and linebackers are supposed to make plays. If you don't make plays, you're supposed to get him to the next linebacker to make a play. And so much of that is all these little things, keeping your shoulder square and leveraging the ball correctly. And what I mean by that is taking a block on with the correct shoulder, forcing the ball back to somebody else, and all these little things that you know don't seem like much, but it really make you a good linebacker and make you have a good defense. And that to me is what I'm starting to see from the entire group is, guys were taking on blocks early in the year, and they were being really physical doing it, but they might take it on with the wrong shoulder. And these guys are now starting to understand, okay, look, here's why it's so important that I do this. And I'm going to do everything I can to do this the right way because I know I might not make the tackle, but my teammate's going to be in position to make the tackle if I play this the right way. And Chad's starting to do those things, and now when you do that, your physical ability, starts to stand out. And he played a great first half. He really did, and he just gets a bigger and bigger role every week for us. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I had no idea what the league, how it was going to play out. You went back and you watched tape last year, and you saw teams that you thought, okay, this team's really well coached, and this team does things the right way, and then you say, okay, well, but they also lost these players, and who's going to take this spot? you know how it is. Sometimes some teams lose a really good player, and then the backup ends up being as good or better. So it's just hard to predict that stuff, and I get why it's hard to pick, conference champions, and just because football is just such a different sport. There's so many moving parts, and it just there's so many things that have to go right for you to have a really good team. But I'll say this: the league is very competitive. You know, we were talking about. I was having a conversation with somebody this past weekend, and we were talking about coaches in the league. And I mean, I think this league has really, really good football coaches. You know what I mean? And I'm talking guys that are um, have been successful at programs that are hard to be successful at, and guys that have been successful in small college and worked their way up and got to a better job and won there, and then and here they are in the Big 12, and they're just good coaches, and they know what they're doing, and they know how to work, and they know how to recruit, and they know how to hire a coaching staff, and they know how to recruit to their system, and just all the stuff that makes teams hard to beat. So I think that's why there's so much parity in the league, and I think that's why there's so little difference maybe between the games. It's just because you're just not going to come across some team that's just not good. Everybody's good, everybody's well coached, everybody's going to be well prepared, everybody's got a good culture. There's no teams that have given up. You know what I mean? And I think you run into that this time of year sometimes in other leagues where a team's kind of saying, well, we're out of it, we're not going to play hard, and that just doesn't happen in this league. And said it a bunch, but there's just no layups. And I think some people have the good fortune of being in leagues where the season starts and they go, well, we're going to beat these 6 teams, and then these 3 games are going to be tough. Well, that doesn't happen in the Big 12, and all you got to do is, again, we felt like, I think we felt like we didn't play great on the road at West Virginia, and then you go, well, they beat Baylor and Oklahoma at home. You know what I mean? And so you just kind of start to realize, look, we've done some good things and we've beaten some really good teams, and none of it's been easy, but our guys have found a way to do it. Yep, we were. Yeah, yeah. He was a GA for us at Texas Tech. Yeah, yeah. Um, what I love about Dave is Dave has. I mean, there's not two people in the world more opposite than Dave Rand and Mike Leach. Okay, but I have a tremendous appreciation for both of them because they both are completely 100% authentic. You know what I mean? And Dave has been Dave. And Dave is one of those guys where he was kind of um, nerdy when he was at Texas Tech, real mature, smart. Always wanted to talk football. And at that point, we had a lot of young coaches that, we went out and stayed up late and did stuff we weren't supposed to do, and Dave didn't. He was in bed at 9 o'clock every night. You know what I'm saying? And so he was just a real mature guy and really smart and real focused, um, and really, and I really admire him because I think he had to grow into that role because Dave's not the most outgoing person in the world, and he's turned into a fantastic head coach, and it's probably outside of his comfort zone a little bit, just because I think he's pretty much an introvert. Um, I think he's probably more comfortable doing that. Um, but he's an outstanding guy. He's very, very smart. You know, People are always going to have a ton of respect for him because of the way he handles himself and the way he treats his players. And again, I really admire him for being an outside the box thinker because I really think he is, and I think he's really smart in a lot of things he does. Yeah, yeah, and cerebral is probably a better way to put it than nerdy. Uh, yeah, but he has for sure, and he probably used to look at me and and go, "That's the most immature old guy I've ever seen in my life," and so, um, but that's now that I'm 53, I'm starting to get close to being as mature as he was at probably 23. Yep, yep. Well, we had the good fortune of playing against them. I think that was the thing that we saw. I mean, that Navy team had two really good linebackers, um, and every year we played them, and we were like, who are these guys? I mean, these guys are just good players, and they're always in the right spot, and they knock the crap out of you, and they play hard. Um, and so I think my last year at SMU, I think he had 15 tackles against us, and so you know, it's like anything else. You have a chance to bring in somebody that's a proven, commodity that you know what you're going to get, who comes from a service academy that you know can go through all the things that those guys have to go through and hold up. I mean, that's hard to do. And so we knew we were going to get somebody who was mature and focused and tough um, and obviously had some leadership. Um, and I think he's exceeded all of our expectations. I mean, he's a little better athlete than I thought he was, and I thought he was a good athlete. Um, and so we needed some maturity. We felt like in the program, and so we were real intentional to go and grab guys like him, guys like Mark Perry. Mark Perry is the same way. I mean, just really focused. And when those guys came on their visits, I mean, they asked questions that you're supposed to ask. They didn't ask, where's Sixth Street, or they didn't say, stuff like that. They said, they asked the questions that guys that are serious about being good football players asked. You know what I mean? And I think we needed that. We felt like we needed that, and a bunch of those guys have provided that to us. And so that's why some of those transfers I think were, and it created competition and all the stuff you want, but it also made us a little bit more mature, and um, which I think was good. Yeah, I mean yeah, I know this. If we went to war, I'd want him fighting for us. That's for sure. We just got to do everything we can to not go to war. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of been really from day one. Is we came back as we got started. We had a meeting, the first meeting, like everybody does, and we just said, hey, look, I don't have any idea. If I stood up here and told you this is what I think we can do, I'd be lying to you. I don't have any idea. And so I know this. We were picked seventh in the league. So obviously people think we're not going to be very good, but you know, those people don't know us. Let's don't pay any attention to them. And so that's been the message as we started to kind of win some games. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, you're going to get the same people now that are telling you how good you are. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, quite frankly. You know what I mean? And so for us, it's always been, look, man, let's do the best we can. Let's play hard for each other. And then when it's all said and done, let's add them up and figure it out at the end. And again, I think you say that most years, it's hard to do. I mean, typically you're around teams and they start talking about bowl games and they start talking about rankings and they start talking about, if this happens, then that happens. And if this guy wins and that guy wins, then this. I have never heard that said one time with any players on our team. Never one time. Never heard him talk about a bowl game. You know, never heard him talk about the conference championship. Never heard him talk about rankings. Um, I mean, it's just, I think our guys really like to play football. And so I think all the other stuff, they just see it as a byproduct of football, and I think again, that's what's made this team really fun to be a part of and be around. And it's, and as you get older, you start to learn, you know, how quickly these things can happen or how hard it is really to get on the map and how quickly you can get off the map. And so as a coach, you kind of know that. And, you just try to, do the best you can and win a game. And then, like I said, at the end of the year, you just look up and see where you are and hope that it's where you want to be. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. I mean, look, Garrett's one of those kind of uniquely mature young people. I mean, he's 33 years old. Um, smart. Um, got a really bright future. I think the great thing that I appreciate about Garrett, and this hard to find people in this day and age that are this way. Garrett probably blocks out distractions as well as anybody. That I've been around. I think he just, he doesn't care. He doesn't care um, about, about getting recognized or any of that kind of thing. Or he's not in a big hurry to go be a head coach. I mean, he's all the stuff that you want a good assistant to be. I mean, he's just very conscientious. He works very hard. He's a team first guy. Um, and I think he's got enough confidence in himself to know that there's going to be opportunities for me at some point, and I'll worry about that when the time comes. He's not a guy that's a self promoter at all. I mean, zero. And, that's hard to find in today's world. I think some young coaches think that that's just what you're supposed to do. And I think probably when I was a young coach, I probably, thought that more than I was supposed to. But he knows what he's doing. He's calm. He's confident. Our players know that they're going to be put into good situations, and and I think they appreciate that. And he's coaching 1-on-1 is don't ask guys to do stuff they can't do, and I think he does a tremendous job of doing that. And it's like everybody else, we're still learning and we're still figuring things out, and we're still, he's going to keep learning until the last game that we play this season. And he's one of those guys who doesn't think he has it all figured out. So really, really good young coach. Got a real bright future, and like I said, I'm glad he's coaching for us because he did a tremendous job again on Saturday night of what happens. Sometimes you go, well, look, we're the number 4 offense in the country, and we're supposed to score 42 points, and we're going to drop back and throw it every down, and by gosh, we only have 3 points at halftime, so we got to score 39 in the second half. He didn't think that way at all. He just thought, okay, what do we have to do to win the game? And let's run the ball. Let's don't turn it over. Let's keep putting our guys in good position. Our defense is playing great. And let's play complementary football and figure out how to win. And again, that's a real credit to his maturity. Okay. Thank y'all. Okay. Appreciate you.